Building has been mankind's continuous task since he ceased to be a cave dweller. If erecting this type of structure has its hazards for the primitive tradesman, how much more complex are the hazards for the builder of today? For this reason, the Department of Labor and Industry has created a code of regulations to assist in accident prevention. Accident prevention begins at the top. Management has a vital role in the business of curbing the accident rate in a rapidly developing industry. Safety procedures must be studied and applied, safety equipment designed and installed. For example, this ironclad signaling unit for hoists, latest of its type, will increase the safety factor of vertical transport equipment. Instructions to the foreman should leave no doubt that safety regulations must be adhered to. Foremen are obliged to insist on safety regulations, and more important still, to see that they're carried out. And the workman himself is just as responsible for keeping to the rules that mean safety for him and his mates. The first and most obvious requirement is good housekeeping. This site is an excellent example of tidiness, which in turn means less likelihood of accident. On all floors, good housekeeping is reflected in the avoidance of debris and work waste and proves that the general foreman is doing a good job. Small things count too. When formwork is stripped, nails should be bent over to prevent possible injury from walking on them. Dangerous to workers with normal footwear, disastrous to characters who choose to walk around like this. Stairways are danger spots in construction work, and like this, they invite accident because there is no guarding against falls. But fenced like this, with 4x2 rails bolted to 4x2 uprights at a height of 3'6", they form efficient safeguards where a person could fall more than 6 feet. Tubular steel is, of course, an excellent substitute for timber fencing. But keep stairs clean of debris. Good housekeeping is especially important here. Lighting is important. Even though fenced, you can miss your footing in a half light. But with adequate light, the danger of falling is largely eliminated. A lift well can be a fatal trap in some circumstances. This one is properly guarded by a rail and tow board. But there was an occasion when a workman borrowed a guardrail and didn't put it back. The builder had failed to provide proper lighting, and later in the day, a workmate mistook the lift well for the stairway and fell to his death. This actually happened. It is not fiction, but unhappy fact. The man who borrowed that board has an ugly memory to live with for the rest of his life. The human head is not designed to take hard knocks, and to work on a building project with an unprotected head is asking for trouble. Safety helmets are just what their name suggests. They should be worn wherever there is danger. Not less than 1-inch clearance should be allowed between helmet and harness, and the chin strap should be used so the helmet will not fall or blow off. Notice also that there is good protection for the back of the head. This is a good argument for using your helmet. Anyone below could be killed by that brick. Some workers have been killed just like that. Look at this helmet. A brick fell 50 feet onto it. The wearer was not killed, but imagine what his head would have looked like. As it was, he was off work for a week with concussion. Accidents can happen so quickly. The carpenter on the right is going off the job without his helmet. Whilst upstairs, a bricklayer packs his tools. The bricklayer checks to make sure that all is clear below, but watch what he does with his mortarboard. If the carpenter had remembered to put on his safety helmet, he would have avoided a nasty accident. The risks of falling from the open sides of floors are considerable unless they're properly fenced. In addition to providing safety, workmen have a feeling of security which improves their standard of work. This building is of lift slab construction and is well fenced with timber guardrails and tow boards. 4x2 handrails bolted to 4x2 uprights at 8-foot centers are required for guardrails at a height of 3'6". The toe board is of 9x1 timber. On multi-story buildings, tubular steel is equally effective. And in this case, the toe board is secured with steel clips. This fencing is not up to standard, as the stanchions are too far apart. A better way is to leave 2-inch holes in the concrete at 8-foot centers to take tubular steel uprights with welded eyes. This type of steel upright is suitable for cantilevered awnings or verandas, but always make sure those clamp screws are kept tight. Floor openings can be real danger spots. This unsafe practice will stop dust, but it could be a death trap. A well-cleated, substantial shutter is the only thing that will make it safe. It cannot move sideways. Large openings are equally hazardous, but they cease to be dangerous when guarded in this manner. This is a true story of an accident to a crane chaser. The crane chaser knows about the shuttered opening. He walks on it to deliver his load. His mate is interested in the opening for another reason. It's a first-class disposal chute. But he doesn't replace the shutter. The inevitable happened. This time, familiar with what he thinks is a covered hole, the crane chaser drops his load. Because there is insufficient dunnage under it, the slings jam, and in an effort to free the sling, he steps back onto a shutter that isn't there. This tragedy was caused by a workmate's thoughtlessness, inadequate supervision, and the chaser's own failure to use proper dunnage. Proper dunnage under the load would have made the removal of the slings an easy matter. Hoist towers, if supported, are now designed for a height of 500 feet, and if guyed, can be 250 feet high. This Super Duty hoist tower is 240 feet high. Hoist towers in recent years have been the locations of many fatal accidents, and a considerable number of men have been disabled by hoists. Higher buildings require larger hoists, and these operate at faster speeds. This sort of thing can and has caused decapitation. Yet, just after a fatal accident, a man took this foolish risk on his way to the dressing room. It was only sheer luck that the hoist driver saw him. There is no excuse for this man's failure to use the pivoted guardrail, but even a guardrail does not completely insure against human carelessness. Falling objects are another hazard if the hoist is not meshed. There's trouble in store for anyone moving below. Remember that the hoist driver relies on signals, and if these are mistakenly given, accidents may occur. But they can be prevented by taking proper precautions. A superintending inspector of the Department of Labor and Industry points out the features of well-designed hoist equipment. A sheet metal box guard fully covers the motor and coupling. The spur and pinion gear wheels are fully encased at both sides and at the top. This rule applies to all spoked and toothed wheels. The hoist rope leading from the top of the drum gives the correct pull onto the fixed brake anchorage. All ends of revolving shafts and projecting keys must be guarded or shafts and keys recessed, as in these niggerhead warping drums. Timber or steel struts and headstock prevent movement, and the winch frame should be bolted securely to concrete foundations. The lower hinge diverting sheave is guarded, but it should be able to be seen by the winchman in case the rope works off the sheave. The distance between the sheave and drum, which is protected by guardrails, provides the correct fleeting angle so that the hoist rope will wind evenly on the drum. This angle should never exceed 3 degrees on ungrooved drums. The distance from sheave to drum is more than 19 feet. The hoist driver has overhead protection, but he should wear his safety helmet when he steps outside. 12-gauge steel wire mesh should enclose the tower to 6 feet above the top loading point. Loading point gates should be of steel mesh 6 feet high. Gate switches operate the lights in the winchman's cabin. While the gate is open, the bell signal is cut off. When the gates are closed, a green light tells the winchman it is safe to operate the hoist. An unsafe act is immediately detected by the winch driver. In the erection of formwork, proper precautions will eliminate many dangers. If a person could fall more than 10 feet, a handrail must be fixed to the outer edges of the formwork as soon as the decking is in position. Handrails protect all tradesmen, including the men placing concrete in position, while a slab edge board is a practical substitute for a toe board. Handrails are fixed by tubular steel to at least 2 adjustable steel toms with 90-degree couplers hard up against the underside of the formwork, while in this case, timber is used to form the rails. A second lower rail gives additional safety. It'll stop a man rolling under the handrail. One slip, and a man working by this dangerous method is likely to fall. And from here, we're reminded that it's not the fall that hurts, it's the sudden stop. But working like this from scaffolding is quite safe. A spur scaffold should be used for forming up and stripping beam sides deeper than 2 feet. The rigger is a man with special problems. His job is difficult, but we've passed the days when he was regarded as a man who could climb anywhere and with brute strength force steel members into position. The riggers of the old days paid a heavy price in injured backs, hernias and the like. Even today, it is sometimes the practice to send a new man aloft on a trivial errand to see how well he can climb. It's a senseless and dangerous practice. A man starting to climb under compulsion like this can easily be the victim of an unintended but very real accident. His mates could be sending him on more than a climb. While they may regard his performance with interest, he's taking his life in his hands without the slightest justification. Will it be moral murder if he falls? The scaffolding and lift regulations require that safe means of access must be provided to every working place. As the steelwork is erected, an access is built in a central position so that the rigger can safely reach the level at which he is to work. Here is complete disregard of safety. This man may be taking a short cut to save time. Perhaps his employers encourage him to do it. Perhaps he just feels too sure of himself. Where there are deep beams which cannot be straddled, a lifeline and safety belt is a safe means of access. This rigger demonstrates the safe way to move across steel beams in high places. Feet on the bottom flange, hands on the top one. There have been cases of riggers falling to their death, but our friend goes back to his job convinced that an accident couldn't happen to him. Management and supervision must accept the prime responsibility for the workers under their control. But each employee must in turn accept responsibility for his own actions. When the people working on the job really believe that accidents can happen, they will adopt safe working practices. Then and only then will we be nearer to eliminating the fall guy from the building construction of the future.